Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through all the noise and get to the heart of what matters. Today we're diving deep into responsible citizenship, corporate social responsibility, and sustainability.
And we're not just looking at the theory here. We're
Right.
going to be seeing how these ideas actually play out in the real world
Yeah, exactly.
with examples from businesses, communities, and even global initiatives.
And you're in for a real treat because we've got a really diverse mix of sources for this one. We've got excerpts from a book on responsible citizenship, academic papers on CSR,
hmm
and even profiles of innovators who are really putting these ideas into action.
Yeah, we'll be exploring everything from innovative housing developments in Australia to a business that's growing gourmet mushrooms from coffee waste.
Okay, hold on. So we're talking gourmet mushrooms from coffee.
Yeah, you heard that right.
Wow.
And we'll even delve into the big debate surrounding corporate volunteering. Is it truly altruistic or just clever PR?
Okay, so before we get ahead of ourselves,
Yeah,
let's break down these kind of core concepts. Starting with responsible citizenship.
right.
What does it even mean to be a responsible citizen in today's world?
Well, that's a question that sparks a lot of debate, and rightfully so. Our sources highlight a real tension between individual actions and collective responsibility. We often hear about the importance of things like recycling, reducing your carbon footprint. But when you're facing these global scale challenges like climate change, individual efforts can sometimes feel pretty insignificant, right?
Right, so trying to bail out a sinking ship with a teaspoon.
Yeah, exactly.
So are the sources saying that individual action is pointless?
No, not at all.
So
It's
you-
more about recognizing the limitations of relying solely on individual action to solve problems that require systemic change.
Right.
The sources are really prompting us to think about the bigger picture here. What are the policies? What are the systems that need to change? And how can we collectively push for those changes?
So it's not just about what we do as individuals, but how we engage with the systems around us.
Precisely. Now, let's switch gears and talk about CSR, or corporate social responsibility. Is it truly about businesses doing good in the world? Or is it just a way to polish their image and boost their profits?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of skepticism around CSR these days. Are the sources leaning one way or another on this?
Well, there are definitely some critical voices in the mix. Some sources question whether these voluntary CSR programs actually make a tangible difference. They argue that without regulation, businesses are always going to prioritize their bottom line over social good.
Right, so is it all just a big greenwashing scheme?
Not necessarily.
Right.
The sources also present the perspective of CSR advocates
Okay.
who believe that businesses can be a powerful force for positive change.
Right.
They highlight initiatives like corporate philanthropy, employee volunteering programs, and sustainability reporting as examples of how businesses are stepping up.
But how do we actually measure the impact of these programs? Is there any way to know if they're genuinely making a difference or if it's just good PR?
That's the million-dollar question, and it's one that the sources grapple with as well.
Yeah.
It's critical. It's about recognizing that our actions have far-reaching consequences, not just for ourselves, but for other people and for future generations. And then the sources introduce this really interesting concept called sustainability displacement.
Okay, that sounds ominous. What is sustainability displacement?
It's basically the idea that we often try to shift the responsibility for sustainability onto other people, other places, or even future generations.
Hmm.
Like a really great example from the sources is the use of carbon offsets. Companies pay to offset their emissions instead of actually reducing them.
Right, so it's kind of like sweeping the dirt under the rug and pretending the room is clean.
Exactly.
Okay.
The sources also delve into the Australian debate surrounding the minerals resource rent tax, which really highlights how economic interests often clash with those environmental concerns.
Right, so it can become really political as well.
Absolutely.
So it sounds like there's a lot of finger pointing when it comes to sustainability.
Yeah.
So if individual action has limits, CSR has its skeptics, and we're constantly trying to shift the burden of sustainability, where do we even begin to address all of this?
Well, according to the sources, education plays a vital role in shaping a more responsible and sustainable future. Universities, they really have this responsibility to equip future leaders with the knowledge and skills to navigate these complex issues.
So we're talking about more than just adding a sustainability course or two to the curriculum.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
The sources suggest that we need to go deeper than that. We need to challenge those assumptions that are kind of baked into traditional business education. They talk about using innovative teaching approaches, things like expectation failure.
Expectation failure.
Yeah.
What are those?
So it's about using those real-world examples and case studies to expose the flaws in that conventional thinking and provoke critical thinking. For example, one source describes challenging students with this question: should child labor be abolished?
Well, I mean, isn't the answer a resounding yes to that?
Most people would instinctively agree with you there. But then the source introduces this thought-provoking quote from the economist Kaushik Basu. He argues that simply banning child labor without addressing those root causes of poverty, it could actually make the children's situation even worse.
Wow, yeah. I hadn't considered that perspective before.
So it's about encouraging students to think beyond these simplistic solutions and grapple with the unintended consequences of those well-intentioned policies.
That's such a powerful way to teach. It's not about feeding students the right answer, but teaching them how to ask the right questions.
Precisely. The sources also mention the Principles for Responsible Management Education, or PRME. It's a UN-supported initiative that encourages business schools to really incorporate sustainability into their curricula.
It sounds like there's a real push to make sustainability more than just like a buzzword in education.
Absolutely. It's about transforming how we educate these future leaders so they can approach business with this more holistic and responsible mindset.
Speaking of responsible leaders, our sources introduce some pretty fascinating profiles of individuals pushing the boundaries of sustainable business and technology.
Yeah, these innovators are taking the concepts that we've been discussing and actually making them a reality, turning their passion and ideas into action. They're creating successful ventures that are both sustainable and socially responsible.
Let's start with Eugenie Stockman.
Okay.
She's in the housing development space, right? What makes her approach so unique?
Yeah, Eugenie is all about creating these affordable, sustainable, and community-oriented housing developments in Australia. And what really sets her apart is her dedication to involving future residents in that design process right from the very start.
So it's not just about building houses, but building communities.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Eugenie understands that by engaging those people who will actually be living in these homes, she can create better outcomes for everyone. The source actually describes her first project, Genesis. It's a development that's built around sustainability and those shared living principles.
It sounds like she's really challenging the traditional model of housing development.
Yeah, she certainly is. And the source mentions all the challenges that she's faced in navigating the bureaucracy and regulations that are often designed for those conventional housing projects. But her success shows that it is possible to create a different kind of development that prioritizes people and the planet.
That's inspiring. Now let's move on to Josh Byrne.
Okay.
He's an environmental consultant and TV presenter.
Mm.
But his journey began with this passion for gardening, right?
That's right. Josh's story is a great example of how passion can lead to impact. So he started as a permaculture gardening enthusiast. Then he combined that with his scientific background to become a leading expert in water efficiency.
Permaculture gardening. That sounds pretty niche.
It is, but Josh's knowledge and communication skills helped him to reach this wider audience. He's worked with Aboriginal communities to develop sustainable landscapes, and he pioneered this concept of mains water-neutral gardening, which minimizes the reliance on city water supplies.
So he's not just a gardener, he's an innovator and a bridge builder.
Absolutely. He's taken his passion to the national stage as a TV presenter on Gardening Australia. And the source really highlights his commitment to community engagement and policy advocacy, showing that he's really using his platform to advocate for broader change.
It sounds like he's making sustainability accessible and inspiring for a whole generation of gardeners.
He certainly is. Now let's jump into the water sector with Sam Milani. He's built a global business around a seemingly unglamorous product: gray water recycling systems.
Gray water, that doesn't sound very appealing.
I know, right? But Sam saw potential in something that most people would consider waste. The source describes how he started by designing this simple device to divert gray water from laundry machines to garden irrigation.
So it's like giving your water a second life before it goes down the drain.
Exactly. And he's continued to innovate, developing more sophisticated systems with automatic filter cleaning, and even working on projects in developing countries to bring those water efficiency solutions to communities in need.
It sounds like he's found a niche market with huge potential for positive impact.
He definitely has. Now let's talk about Gemma Green, who is disrupting the energy sector with blockchain technology.
Blockchain, isn't that the technology behind cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin?
Yeah, it is. But Gemma saw a way to use it to transform how we actually generate and distribute renewable energy.
Okay, I need you to break this down for me. How does blockchain fit into the energy sector?
So Gemma recognized that as more people install solar panels and battery storage in their homes, it creates this decentralized energy network. And blockchain technology allows individuals to actually connect and trade their excess solar power with each other, creating a peer-to-peer energy market.
So it's like turning your home into like a mini power plant and selling your energy to your neighbors.
You got it. And the source highlights Gemma's vision and business acumen in this rapidly evolving industry. She's a true trailblazer in the renewable energy revolution.
Okay, last but not least, we have Ryan and Julian who are turning coffee waste into something delicious.
Talk about a creative use of resources, right? So they built a business around growing these gourmet oyster mushrooms from used coffee grounds.
That's amazing. I love mushrooms and I love coffee, so this is a win-win for me.
It's a win for the environment, too. They're diverting waste from landfills and transforming it into a valuable food source. The source describes how they started with a simple idea, they spent months experimenting, and they turned their passion into a successful business model.
It's a great example of how sustainability can be both innovative and delicious. It's a fantastic example of the circular economy in action, where waste is seen as a resource to be reused and repurposed.
Absolutely. So we have Eugenie building sustainable communities, Josh making gardening water-wise and accessible, Sam giving water a second life, Gemma revolutionizing the energy grid, and Ryan and Julian proving that sustainability can be tasty. What an inspiring group of innovators.
It really is incredible how these individuals are taking these abstract concepts and putting them into action in such tangible ways. It makes you wonder, what are the common threads that connect these innovators?
Well, one thing that really stands out is the importance of collaboration. You know, none of these innovators are working in isolation. They're partnering with stakeholders, sharing knowledge, and building these strong networks to achieve their goals.
It's like that old saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. But it's more than just collaboration, right?
Right. These innovators also share certain personal qualities. A deep passion for their work, a willingness to put in the long hours, and a genuine commitment to making a positive difference in the world. They really embody the principles of responsible citizenship and sustainability in everything they do.
Their stories are incredibly inspiring. So after this deep dive into responsible citizenship, CSR, and sustainability, what are the key takeaways for you? What should our listener be thinking about after hearing all of this?
Well, one of the biggest takeaways for me is that individual action, while important, can't solve systemic problems alone. We need that collective action and a real shift in mindset towards greater responsibility. You know, we need to think beyond our own individual choices and engage with those systems and structures that shape our world.
We also explored the complex and often controversial world of CSR. It's not a black and white issue, and there are valid arguments on both sides of the debate.
Exactly. But what's clear is that businesses have a huge role to play in creating a more sustainable and equitable future, whether it's through their operations, their supply chains, or their engagement with the communities they serve. Businesses have a responsibility to consider the social and environmental impact of their decisions.
And then we have those incredible innovators who are walking the walk, demonstrating that sustainability can be innovative, profitable, and, yes, even delicious.
Absolutely. They're proving that economic growth and sustainability don't have to be at odds. We can create a future where businesses thrive while also contributing to a healthier planet and a more just society.
So here's something for you to ponder as we wrap up this deep dive. If these individuals can make such a difference, what actions can you take, even small ones, to contribute to a more sustainable and responsible future? Maybe it's supporting businesses that align with your values, advocating for policy changes, or simply having conversations about these important issues with your friends and family.
And think about this. What are the biggest obstacles preventing wider adoption of these sustainable practices? How can we work together to overcome them? Is it a lack of awareness, a fear of change, or something else entirely? It's a question worth exploring further.
We encourage you to continue this journey of exploration. Maybe do some research on the individuals and initiatives we've discussed today, or start a conversation with your friends and family about these important issues. The more we engage in these conversations, the more likely we are to find solutions.
Remember, the challenges are significant, but there's a growing movement of individuals, businesses, and organizations dedicated to creating a better future. Your actions, no matter how small, can be a part of that movement. Every choice we make, every action we take can contribute to a more sustainable and responsible world.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring. Until next time, stay curious and keep